Okay. All right. Welcome to the Wednesday, January 12th, 2022 meeting of the Economic Development Commission. This is our regular monthly meeting, which was postponed from last week. I'd like to welcome everyone. And first order of business, I'd like to ask for approval of the December 1st, 2021 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
I have to abstain. I wasn't.
Okay, David's an abstention. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Candace, let me know when you're ready to move on as you take minutes.
Ready?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we add to the agenda at just before adjournment, public comment. I forgot to put that on there. So can I have a motion, or I'm making a motion to add public comment to this agenda.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. So we'll have that right after number 9, new or additional business. Okay, first up is MJ with Economic Indicators Real Estate Update. And MJ, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Most people would think that was a benefit. I sent out a quick packet to just say that truly things are beginning to slow down for a number of reasons that you hear in the financial news every day. Rising interest rates, potentially, no inventory. But one thing I thought of late in the game was the fact that when the pandemic started, Governor Lamont gave realtors essential worker status. They did not have that status in New York or Massachusetts or Pennsylvania or New Jersey. So a lot of people who wanted out of densely populated areas fled to Connecticut. So that really drove the 2020 numbers and into 21 numbers through the roof. So compared to that, it's definitely slowed down. If you go back and look at the last kind of normal year we had, which was 2019, we're about even to that year. We can see a little bit of price appreciation off the 2019 numbers, but it's starting to come off the 21 numbers for sure, just because there aren't any bidding wars, that sort of thing. But activity is slow because there's no inventory. Nobody wants to sell. They don't have anywhere to go. We still hear that schools are a big factor. And since people are able to work remotely, if they have children, then that's easy for them. But I will tell you that we do see a lot of movement just inside of Connecticut, and a lot of retirees coming back to Connecticut that used to live here to be with family. And, not everybody has a kid, basically. So people have lots of reasons for coming, and I don't think you can draw any generalization about why they're coming here versus other counties. I did give you details on properties that sold in the first 12 days. And you can see in Old Lyme, prices are down. And of course, volume is down because there's no inventory. But remember that most of those properties went under contract last year. I also added, Sotheby's does a Market Watch quarterly, which is written by our chairman and CEO. He's a brilliant guy, really. He's been doing this for a very long time. And I find his commentary very informative about the outlook for real estate, as well as how the market performed. And it's not just Sotheby's, it's everybody. I thought that one of the things, if you cared to look at it, was how we compare to other counties. And it's not so much the sales volume, because we know houses in Darien are much more expensive than they are in East Lyme, for example. But it's the number of units that are what I like to concentrate on at this point in time for this report. So that's pretty much it. There's nothing special about us that isn't going on across the country. It's just our numbers, our valuations and our numbers are different, and pretty much that's it.
Thanks for sending that report. Yeah, it was
Oh,
very
good.
interesting. Thanks. Appreciate it.
And the nice thing about that report as well is that you can compare the towns within each county. So you can compare Old Lyme to East Lyme, and then skip over to Middlesex County and compare us to Saybrook and
Right.
that sort of thing. And I found that interesting. We looked pretty good there. And I can see Joe is joining in to our meeting. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Let's see if he has sound yet. Joe, are you able to hear us at this point?
Oh. Exclamation.
Probably using dial up. I see a little
Oh, okay.
yellow caution sign there.
Okay.
No offense to Joe, but it seems appropriate.
You better hope his audio's off.
Behave. It's 2022.
All right.
Anyway, Cheryl, thanks for noticing that, because I do like to look at that to see how we're doing against Saybrook and East Lyme and places where there are jobs, actually. So I like to look as you go toward the Hartford area, a little upriver. East Haddam was on fire at the end of the year, for example.
Yeah. Okay. And it was what an insight about the realtors being essential workers in Connecticut, but not in the other.
Yeah,
Look,
I mean,
that
we
was
have a
interesting.
good lobbying group, but I really honestly tried to think about that very hard. And we talked about that at a real estate board meeting a couple months ago. And definitely that really, really, really helped us a lot. And I think I mentioned a while ago in another meeting that the William Pitt Sotheby's franchise contributed worldwide to Sotheby's International Real Estate as the number 3 in sales volume the first year of the pandemic. And clearly we attribute that to being able to work, because there's a lot of expensive properties in London and San Francisco and whatever, but they weren't working. We were number 3 worldwide.
MJ, is there a way to understand empty office or retail space in town? Is there a list of those?
I can look at commercial sites in MLS, but we don't have a big volume of commercial, even compared to East Lyme or Old Saybrook. So I don't know how meaningful it would be. But I did talk to
MJ, when you say we, do you mean we William Pitt Sotheby's or we Old Lyme?
the MLS, the Realtor Association in Connecticut. Like that's where all the data comes from.
So maybe those properties are sold through some other network?
Well, there is a commercial network which sells bars and gas stations and strip malls and that sort of thing. But I know I do maybe one commercial deal a year, and it never happens in Old Lyme. We just don't have what people are looking for. That would be doctors' offices, labs, people who want to open restaurants.
Percentage-wise, commercial is a very small percentage of the real estate in Old Lyme. I think
Oh,
it's
clearly.
something like 10% or something.
Yeah, yeah. But compared to the surrounding areas, except for Lyme, of course, we
Yeah.
don't even make a dent.
I guess
And
what
houses
I'm
for sale.
looking
And
for
some
are
properties are marketed privately, so you have to
Right.
understand that as well.
right. Dave, did I cut you off?
I just said I know my building is, for example, on the market, 19 Halls Road. I don't know that there's any others beyond.
Do you know what she's asking for that?
It's like I'm not 100% sure. I
I'll
thought it was
look it up because I,
5.9 or something like that. Or that seemed low to me, but maybe
what
I'm
was
wrong.
it?
5.9 million or something, but that seems
Right.
low to me.
Was she
Um,
selling the land too? Oh, look,
I don't know. I definitely don't know that.
yeah.
What I'm hoping to come up with, and Sherry, maybe you have ways that you've seen in other towns. How do we keep track of a metric or set of metrics that will help us understand what's going on with our small businesses? You know, how many businesses are closing or opening or stagnant space? I don't know if that information is available at the state level that I'm not aware of, Sherry.
No, unfortunately, that's something that all of us economic development directors struggle with is you can't know everything about what's happening with your businesses in town. You know, somebody can close up shop next week or today and never tell anyone, it just happens. And then businesses pop up, in Old Lyme, we drive around so much that we would see a new business, but in bigger towns, new businesses pop up and you don't even know it for 6 months, until you hear about it.
Yeah.
And also the availability of commercial property, whether it's well, if it's for sale, it's listed somewhere, but sometimes there's vacant properties that's maybe for rent. You don't even know about it because people don't list it. It's really challenging to keep your fingers on all of that that's going on. Very, very difficult.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone have any other economic indicators that they think we should be tracking, in addition to what MJ's information is really valuable? Is there anything else we should just keep a handle on?
I wonder if the tax collector has anything that she could give us about the grand list. Not vehicles or things, but people who have to declare inventory or, I don't know, Dave, do you get one of those?
I do. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I assume
I don't
it's.
know who gets them and what's the benchmarks for that.
Yeah. I mean, I assume it's public. I don't know that. I'm not sure. Um, but I'm sure every business in town gets it.
I'm sure it's public, but again, I don't think it's meaningful. I think the number's
Yeah.
small.
I mean, I probably even have a copy next to me somewhere. There's not that much. I mean, it tells you what inventory you have,
Right.
in there, and what, a few other things like that. But it's not something that I think would give us any real data that we could use.
Right.
Oh. All right. Well, keep that in mind. Okay. Thank you, MJ and Sherry, for that insight as well. Okay, the Old Lyme Economic Forum. Howard and I had a really good meeting with Tim Griswold and Courtney Hendrickson from Advanced CT to talk about an upcoming forum planned for January 8th and then January 22nd. And Tim is out of the state until, I believe, Friday, which I'm sure he'll be swamped on Friday, first day back in the office. But I just am thinking, I'm seeing more and more meetings go onto WebEx in town. I think there's a lot of concern for COVID. We really want this meeting to be something interactive. And I'll tell you more about the agenda in a moment, but it's feeling to me like we might want to move it back once again, because of this current outbreak of Omicron. I think a lot of people don't have bandwidth with their concerns of household quarantines and concerns about infection. And so I'm going to put that out there first. But then I'd like to also give you a little background on the meeting itself. The original concept was to just share, have Courtney share the economic development study, which was done 2 years ago, but with a post-COVID update. And of course, now we're not post-COVID. There's been this hope to get past the pandemic, but some updates in terms of, that study was done before COVID, and now, what are some things we need to think about since then? But we've added some other components to this agenda so that it's more than just the one EDC study. We would like to have, and Mike Fogliano is very interested in doing this. Mike from affordable housing or someone from Rivercog reporting on the regional housing report. And that isn't about affordable housing, that's about all housing in the Rivercog area. So a brief update on what that means for Old Lyme. Looking at the American Recovery Plan Committee has just completed a survey of residents and businesses and nonprofits in town, asking how the pandemic has affected them. And we'd like to provide the commissioners and board members that attend this with kind of an overview of what those findings are, how they relate to the various commissions. I should stop and remind you that the commissions that are invited to this include Board of Selectmen, Finance, zoning, water pollution, planning, Parks and Rec, a whole variety of boards and commissions having 1 to 2 representatives. The other thing we'd like to do is look at the POCD together. And there's a whole list, as we know, of goals and recommendations that involve multiple commissions or boards working together. And we'd like to get the conversation started among these boards and commissioners on how to move forward with some of the recommendations that are in the POCD. And that's a primary reason why we would really like to have this as an in-person meeting, so that people can go off in corners and, start conversations and plan meetings and discuss findings and that sort of thing. So I just gave you a lot of information at once.
I just might add a couple of things. Originally, our contract with Advanced CT called for them to do a summary to boards and commissions of the public. So that was part of the contract, and they've agreed to do that. And then as we started to think about this project, it seemed to be there were other goals here too, maybe even more important, certainly since the reports are kind of getting old, a little bit stale. We also thought that, the boards and commissions all work in these silos, and many of us working on the same issues. And there needs to be, more cooperation, collaboration. This would be a good vehicle to get that started. And then also to address some of the key issues facing the town, such as housing. And then, we put out this POCD, and then, who's responsible? How does it get implemented? The same issues that were there 10 years ago are still there. And so we need a better process to kind of address those kind of issues. So that was the purpose. And as Cheryl and I were talking about, should we have it or continue to postpone it? And it just seems to me that the reports from Advanced CT are not really the most important thing. The most important thing is this getting together and having a chance to collaborate and cooperate and address some of these issues. So I would say, given that, I would kind of vote to postpone it until we can do it in person. I think this will be more valuable.
I wholeheartedly agree with postponing it so that we can do it in person. And did I hear you say that it's limited to just 1 or 2 people from each of the commissions? Because I don't think we should limit it. If there's 8 people from the, planning and zoning that wants to come, we should let them, I would think, right?
Well, that was, Tim had recommended that, and I think he did it basically because in the COVID environment, he talked about, where would we have a facility big enough to be able to social distance? So his thinking, which I certainly understand, was to limit it to 2 people. But, I guess if we do postpone it and we could, not be under the same threat from the virus, maybe we can revisit that issue with them.
Yeah, that was really a room capacity issue.
Yeah.
And we were going to supplement it with a recording. But you know, it's a good point, Sherry. We can, if I would be thrilled if any commission sent 8 members. That would be a win.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for 1 from each. So
So can you all, I'm trying to understand a little bit better the shape of this, because it sounds to me from what you all just described, inviting in POCD and Rivercog, I mean, to chat, that it could be, I mean, how long do we think this is going to last? Because it sounds to me like I don't want to bite off more than we can chew with this. You know, originally, understanding that the report itself may be a bit stale right now, but originally that was the intent, and I understand the benefits of having everybody be able to get to the room and talk. But if we start bringing in lots of different pieces, I just don't want to dilute any of our message by trying to too much. So I don't know if you've thought about the shape of it, or the time frame, or what it might look like to have these different parties involved together in the room. But it would be good to sort of understand that better. So
sure. So we're thinking of about, I think it's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. or 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
I saw 9 to 1.
I'm sorry?
I saw 9 to 1. You're
Yeah,
right.
but possibly, yeah, 1 or 12, depending on how it all works out. Starting with coffee and refreshments, a 10-minute welcome statement from Tim. Perhaps an overview of the success of each of these commissions and boards in the Sustainable Connecticut environment. That's 15 minutes. And then going into assets and what to focus on next. We have 45 minutes from Courtney on the economic development study with the COVID update. Having a 15-minute break.
did you
Then
circulate this? I don't mean to be a jerk. If you did, I feel like I
nope, because it's very
okay,
draft.
sorry.
It was
I thought
draft.
you were reading off of something I should
Okay.
already know, and I felt really like I wasn't doing it. Sorry, thanks.
No, I'm sorry, I haven't circulated it because it was still draft.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's what we worked off of with Tim. And my thought was to really finalize it this week to get out to everyone, but I'm thinking we're just postponing. But I'll just run through the rest of it. 20 minutes on the American Recovery Plan survey overview, the results overview. And then looking at some of the EDC responses to the current needs. Based on that economic development study, that's the website, the Advanced CT New Business Guide, ways we want to support businesses in town, looking at key commercial zones, which we're going to talk about more, the Shoreline Gateway, and then as a discussion point, how else can we support businesses and workers based on the EDC findings? And then after a break, the Rivercog Regional Housing Report. We're going to provide a bagged lunch. And then right after lunch, the interactive POCD overview and recommendations for action. And people working together on looking at a chart with all of the different recommendations, what commissions or boards are put against those actions, and then somehow facilitating these different boards and commissions to start planning how they're going to address them.
Cheryl, is Tim willing to give some staff resources to help set this up and organize it?
Yeah, we pretty well, yeah. I think we pretty well had it organized.
Howard, you seem to be on twice, and so there's an echo.
I'm going to vote twice. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, but there's still an echo.
I don't know what's happening.
Can you mute one of them?
I tried. Let me try.
Sounds better now.
Can you hear me?
Twice.
Let me see if I can mute one of him. Howard, can go ahead
Yeah.
and speak. Okay, I muted your other one.
Do what? When I'm going to go out and come back in. But anyway, my main contribution to the project was recommending the lunch.
Perfect.
So, yeah,
Lunch.
So there will be some staff resources because
Trying
it
to get outta
seems
here.
like, you know, it's becoming a heavier lift with some organization that's required. So we'll get some assistance from the selectman's office.
yeah, I've talked to Michelle already. Our biggest challenge right now is that they can't find the projector. So,
Okay.
so we're working out all those kind of logistical details.
Okay. And the other comment I have, Cheryl, is you may want to check in with Courtney. I honestly don't think she would take 45 minutes. In the timeline, you have 45 minutes. Courtney is pretty brief when she speaks. And so I don't anticipate that she would actually use up a whole 45 minutes, unless that includes answering questions, perhaps.
Yeah, I can see in my notes, she said, I don't need 45 minutes, a half hour is fine.
Okay.
So she's got a whole PowerPoint she's been holding on to for 18 months.
Okay.
So I'm glad you caught that, Sherry.
I have to agree, it sounds very aggressive in terms of the amount of territory and topics we want to cover. I don't have a solution. I'm just saying that that's an overwhelming amount of discussion for a group this large, if you include everybody as well. It's just a lot.
Well, that was
I
another
don't know.
reason for the 1 to 2 representatives, but obviously we can rethink that.
Anybody else care? I mean,
I think if you're going to do it, do it. I mean, I don't have a problem with the amount of discussion. I think it's actually good. If you're going to pull people together, let's get it all done. My only concern is just giving some assistance from town hall to actually get it organized rather than relying on a group of volunteers.
well, I think that's part of it. We're all volunteers, and that's a lot of content and time.
Right. The
Just saying.
content, yeah, the content is coming from different people though. It's not one person presenting all day. It's,
No, but we're all absorbing it and we're all being asked
oh,
to
right.
comment and break
Yeah, it's a
out
lot
and
of,
talk about it. So how do you narrow the focus of everybody? Because it's inevitable that it everything overlaps. That's the whole point. I
I
don't
wonder, it would be helpful if we knew who was coming ahead of time. If we
Right.
could group people into small groups, if we looked at the agenda and said, okay, these are the people who are stakeholders for this particular topic, and put together small groups that would brainstorm about particular topics.
Right.
I think that's right. I think my concern with all of this at once is that we've sort of been living it for the last 2 years, but none of these folks who are coming to the table have to the same extent, right? So some of them are going to be coming in cold, and it's a lot to take in if you're coming in cold, and particularly we just don't know the level of engagement on the boards that that the people are going to. So as much as we can give them in advance so that this is I just want to make sure we get what we want, so that they can now.
So like, Dave, to your point, how many of the participants will have read the POCD?
That's
Because-
exactly right. That's what I'm
Because,
talking
if you're just encountering the POCD for the first time, it's hard to get to the next step of the what do we do about it, right?
Yeah, we're going to have a page on the town website with all of the materials ahead of time. We can encourage people to look at all of that ahead of time. I mean, I have to say, if you're heading one of these commissions, like, you know, land use commission, and you're not having looked at the POCD in the year that it's been published, I think that's a minimal requirement of anyone who's leading one of these commissions.
Absolutely.
I think that's,
And I mean, if you're motivated to come, I mean, it's currently scheduled for a Saturday. So if you're willing to spend your Saturday doing this, I would think you're invested enough to have read the materials, right?
I would
I would
think
hope
so.
so. I mean, in my mind, what I'm comparing it to is when you go to these all-day forums, you know, like I go to a tourism summit every year, or you go to different economic development forums or summits every year. And, you listen to different speakers and you get new ideas to bring back to your own work. And I think the small groups idea, pre-planning small groups, is a good idea for that post-lunch time. I think the morning, as we work out the agenda,
What if we asked people to self-select? Like ahead of the meeting, we asked participants to submit, which small group they think is most appropriate for them. And they could even, I'm just thinking off the fly now, but maybe, when they come in the morning, they could fill out a small form. And then while there are all the introductory speeches, somebody who's a worker bee could go through all those little forms and sort people into groups. So by the time you get to lunch, we would be able to announce what groups people are in.
well, you know what? Why don't I bring back to our February meeting, a fuller agenda along with the worksheet that is drafted in Excel on the recommendations and the commissions that are connected to each recommendation. And then we'll see what sort of small groups make sense. Because if you're zoning, you're going to be put on certain recommendations that zoning's been assigned already. So perhaps a smarter way to do this is to give you all the paperwork ahead of time, and we can talk about how to do small groups and that sort of thing then, based on what the layout is.
That's a
Sounds
great
like
idea,
we're
Cheryl.
working on the assumption that we're not meeting on the 22nd.
Right. I think
maybe
this is not happening the 22nd.
maybe we should take a motion to postpone I will
Sure.
make a motion that we postpone the January 22nd. If we need to, I don't know if we need a motion for that, if it's official or not, but postpone it for a later as yet to be determined date.
And I'll second that.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
My computer I said shut down my machine. My computer used this opportunity to update all my windows and everything. The whole thing is just in turmoil.
So Howard, the motion has been
I
made
heard
to
you, yeah.
postpone. Okay, so any discussion
About postponing,
about postponing?
but I have
No.
another
So
question.
sad. I've been
All in
wanting this
favor?
for so long.
Yeah.
So somebody said that Courtney has been waiting 18 months to give us an update. Is there anything more current in terms of what she's got to add since so much has happened? I'm not sure where she's going with her update, so maybe you can answer that.
So she's been waiting 18 months to present the report. The report came out 18 months ago, and then COVID hit, and we never actually presented it. Part of the job was to present, part of the contract was they were going to present it for us, which never happened. So I think that's where she's been waiting 18 months to actually finally say, here it is, and this is what it means. But what it means may have changed significantly since it
Well,
was.
that's what I mean. I thought there was a COVID piece that was getting integrated, and that's what the real meaty update was.
Well, she is adding to it. So let's go
Oh, okay.
ahead and take our vote.
All right.
All in favor of postponing?
Aye.
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 And I have to say, it's actually Tim's date, not our date. So I'm just going to
Right.
let him know that we voted that we want this postponed.
The other thing we might want to consider, and this is not about postponing because I think we've already taken that motion, but you know, when we were first thinking about how to present this, we had bounced around a bunch of different ideas, and you know, this is where we landed, which is good. But one of the first things was that we were going to try to go board by board or something like that to them about.
Yeah.
Maybe we think about that as a follow-up as opposed to what we were going to do first time. So one of the things I'm afraid is going to happen in this is, as we're thinking about, there are going to be people who either you know, that don't speak for the board that they're on, or are just like messengers to that board and maybe aren't going to be able to, you know, best communicate the messaging. We may want to be able to be a resource after that to the boards once those ambassadors to the boards or whatever, representatives to the boards, bring it back to them, because I'd hate to see this die on the vine. You know, we have, everybody's put so much work into this, and I just want to make sure that we don't have a one-off event that doesn't lead.
See, now what I thought you were going to say, Dave, was that given COVID, we might be better off going board by board in smaller venues.
No, I just want to get this done.
I do too. I do too.
I think actually what we need to think about is what is it that we're trying to accomplish with this? And if it's just to communicate what the EDC report said, I'm not sure that's a robust enough activity to go either board by board or to call people together for one meeting. That's why I was hoping to make it a little more robust with other speakers or, you know, other ways to build some momentum for these commissions to work together. One of the things Tim said in our meeting was, you know, so many times the commissions and boards work in silos, it will be great to get people to start working together.
Yeah, I think, you know, originally when we started talking about this, yeah, the focus was more on, you know, getting the summary from Courtney. And then as the time went on, we said, gee, that's fairly stale now. That's not going to excite people. And let's use that opportunity to accomplish something more. And that's when we started to build upon it. And I think that's where it is now.
So the final takeaway is to get these sort of this integration, I guess, happening amongst between the boards. But we have an ask, this sort of facilitators to provide this meeting information.
And are there any critical decisions coming up shortly, like Halls Road or sewers, that would impact how we structure this?
Well, there's the annual budget.
Right. So there's a lot, you know, like we can't just let it go forever either. So I just don't know if that means anything to this group of organizers. Just saying, you know, something could already have just happened that we would have liked to have had more robust discussion about with other commissions and boards. But, you know, I can't see into the future, and I don't know what they're all doing anyway.
Right.
I suggest maybe we take this input and just, since we're postponing it, kind of revisit again with some of the, you know, input that we've had here. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I just don't want to lose all the. I mean, a lot of folks, I think, this call have put this happen, and I want to make sure that it happens as a result of that. So, so I think we just have to figure out.
Besides Tim, have all these other boards and commissions, you know, talked to you? Have you talked to them about what we're trying to do?
No, that's what this meeting was kind of about, right?
I think I know I've had a conversation with Mike Fogliano about it on a couple occasions.
Yeah, we've talked, all of the anyone who's speaking, like Mike and a few others, we've talked to. Tim and Harold have talked, Harold from planning. Yeah, there's been some
Okay.
conversation and emails and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Okay. What do we have next? Okay, Halls Road update, a brief update from Howard.
Not a lot to report. Our January meeting is tomorrow, so nothing's really happened this year. But what we are doing is rewriting the language for the new approach. That's being done. We're engaging an attorney to review the work. I think the schedule basically is and also to hold two public forums with businesses on Halls Road. We'll have two opportunities to do that. That would probably get done in a February timeframe, and then hopefully the revised zoning will be submitted to the Board of Selectmen in March, and then on to zoning. So that's kind of the overall game plan at the moment.
Okay, great. Any questions on that? Okay. Shoreline Gateway proposal of a committee. Howard, do you want to take that?
Here I am again. This is the last thing I'm doing, so you guys won't have to listen to me after this one. So I, as you know, way back in 2021, if you can remember that far back, we started kind of talking about this, and I sent out this week the latest draft that we had, and just to refresh people's memories, this came about with the idea that there have been a number of efforts to come up with a comprehensive approach to the area, and they've tended to fail. Joe presented what they did in 2001, which is an amazing amount of work. You looked at that and you said, wow, these people put in quite an effort. And then somehow, and that wasn't the first effort. And they all just drop into a black hole somewhere and nothing seems to ever get done. So I think what we're trying to do is not recommend specific solutions, but rather a process that will work. And I think there are a couple of ingredients to that. One, that we develop a vision statement of what we want that whole area to look like. And secondly, that it eventually turns into deliverables in a master plan. And in order to do that, and come up with the other important ingredient is to have town-wide consensus on that vision and the plan. That area is, it's a town asset. Certainly all the stakeholders in that area should have a significant voice because it impacts them the most, but it is a town asset, so everybody should. And approach it on a town-wide basis. And I think the other thing that we really need is, beside this vision, deliverables, and a master plan, it really has to have the right mix of people involved. And we've suggested those in the memo. And Board of Selectmen consider, that and potentially others. And it really needs leadership. I think that's the key ingredient here to make sure we drive it. Now, as I look back on what we did in the update the latest draft, the only issue I would say in my mind is we kind of equivocated about who should lead this, giving them, the board, kind of a selectman, a little off ramp. But I really think we should emphasize that it needs to be done at that level, because I just don't think, we need the authority behind this to drive this. There've been so many efforts, that have failed in the past to really come up with a comprehensive approach. And there are a lot of moving pieces. A lot of people, as we indicated in the memo, have done a lot of good work, but they've looked at it as on a piecemeal basis and individual issues rather than putting the whole puzzle together and coming up with the vision and how to implement that. So I think, we should really emphasize that we need leadership on this issue, or else we're just going to be back to 2001. And, the town is very, very good at studying issues, and then, they somehow, we're not as great at implementing them. We need that leadership. So
Howard,
given that, comments, questions, whatever.
yeah. Howard, I'll say that thank you for that commentary, because that is the biggest frustration that I've had, because there's two major pushes that I have made over the years. One of them is to try to do something positive with Soundview, and whether we categorize it as Soundview, Hartford Avenue, or the whole gateway, the whole strip along 156 that's pretty sad, or the Connecticut Riverway Trail, where I was looking to create sort of a greenway, blueway. I'm willing to invest my time and push really hard and put in a lot of hours, but at some point, I have to change gears, because this is not my day job. This is not what I do for a living, and I do think that there's a need for leadership, and not to burden our board of select persons, but somehow I think it has to come from them. And there needs to be the cheerleading to get some fresh blood to pick up the heavy lifting. Because once the game plan is laid out, the execution still has to happen. So I do think that, how do we help the Board of Selectmen develop a mechanism to carry the ball forward when, because, the citizen volunteers such as we, you do reach an endpoint where, you can't just do all of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Falls Road effort where
Yes,
we're as a town, we're at a disadvantage because, most municipalities, especially ones bigger than us, have a full-time planner on board
Yep.
who actually are engaged in these kind of efforts, and we don't. So we then have to go out and rely on outside resources, and, that always becomes a little bit more cumbersome, as we all know. But yeah, I think, you guys have spent, you pick up that 2001 report, you did tremendous amount of work in that thing. It's just a shame to see, and there's been other efforts like that. So it's a shame to see that, so there got to be a process. And I think it does require a broad base of people. And, maybe we don't have everyone listed exactly as it should be, but the board can go through that and modify that as they see fit. But we do need the leadership, and we need a process that results in something.
Just to chime in, it's a good discussion, Howard. The question is, can it be done with volunteer efforts, or does it need people paid to do this as their job? And that gets into, how do you generate, the revenue? It's like, I've been a long time business owner. There needs to be the money to pay for somebody to do the job. And how do we come up with a system that does that?
Well,
it's either you're going to get volunteers to do it, or you got to pay somebody to do it. One or the other.
I think it's a combination. It's kind of like what we're doing in Halls Road. We have the volunteers on the boards and commissions, basically kind of directing the process, and then you need outside expertise because we don't have professional planners, and you just go out and get them. And company like BSC has been utilized by Old Lyme on Soundview projects before on Halls Road. So I'm not saying they would be specifically the ones to do this, but it's a combination because you just don't have any other choice. I think we aren't going to go out and hire a full-time planner, and so then you just have to kind of go through this process that's similar to what we're doing on Halls Road, I think.
Howard, have you
So-
gauged at all what the enthusiasm is among leadership for engaging professional planners? I was in a commission meeting and I was encouraging, as I have for quite some time, that a plan be put in place to develop our assets, particularly our parks. And I got a lot of pushback, specifically calling out, we're not going to waste money on BSC.
I mean, I don't know that specific instance, but BSC has been, and I'm using them as an example, but the town has a long history of using outside consultants because we don't have the inside expertise.
Oh yeah, I'm aware of that. And I
Yeah.
mean, for instance, in Halls Road, we had used the Yale group, and I think there's mixed reviews about that too. I mean, I think you can find people in town who took a dim view of that as well.
Well,
I just wonder
go
if,
into-
I mean, I think the people on this call, you know, would get behind professional planners and doing it in an intentional way. But I'm just raising how that's sold to the larger community.
well, we have, right now, BSC is doing the plan for Halls Road, and we also have outside counsel. So, you know, we've had approvals for that, and BSC actually did the Soundview plan
Yep.
and the zoning. So
Yep.
there's a long history of doing that. So I think it's just project by project. Now, when you go back to Yale, I can understand some of the frustration because I don't want to go into the whole deal now, but yeah, they didn't actually perform up to speed, but you know, that always happens sometimes with outside.
Yeah, Howard, you know, again, as being, you know, going back to putting on my former business owner hat, you know, Yale became an academic exercise. The same thing happened in the 60s at Soundview. That's kind of one of the first things I looked at is, you know, there was a Yale study on what to do. I guess the best suggestion I could put out is to say that, you know, from a governance standpoint of the town, there needs to be an allocation for the betterment of the town. Some number should be set aside in the line items of the town budget for betterment projects. And it should be controlled and it should be judiciously used. But, you know, I feel Candace's pain, you know, trying to do something, let's say, in the way of parks. You know, there should be kind of a line item for, you know, upgrading and improvement of town park facilities. No different than the, you know, the Halls Road project and so on.
So perhaps this is a conversation for our American Rescue Plan Funds Committee, because ARP funds can be used for economic development type
Yeah.
things. And so maybe there's some funding there that can be allocated to what you're talking about, but also
Yeah.
just in terms of planning and planners and consultants, doesn't our Council of Governments have our COG? I don't know, is it River COG or Lower Valley? I don't remember which one we have. But don't they have planners on staff that we can contract with? Is that an option for us rather than outside consultants?
Well, in the Halls Road project, we actually consult with them, but they don't actually do the drawings. They don't actually do the detailed work that's required for a master plan. So you do have to, you know, I'd say our size of our town, without a full-time planner, you either have to get someone part-time or rely on consultants.
Yeah.
Howard,
Any questions on let's go, make sure we don't get too far adrift from the proposal.
Howard, I just have a quick, hopefully easy comment on the proposal, which looks really good. There's a paragraph that starts Olive Old Lyme benefits from a healthy, vibrant shoreline gateway. And the last sentence in that, the Shore Road Commercial Corridor also supports year-round residents who reside in the neighborhood. I would expand it from neighborhood to in the area perhaps, because a few of us live in subdivisions off of Mile Creek Road who travel 156. I travel 156 every day, and that would be my main commercial area of town, even though I'm not in that neighborhood.
Yeah, oh, sure. Okay. But that is,
That's hard to
Howard-
imagine, like if there was a store on 156, you wouldn't have to go all the way to Big Y? How good would that be?
So, Howard, there is a selectmen's meeting this coming Tuesday. And then the next one, they're now doing monthly meetings rather than twice a month. So the next one is February 7th. Which meeting do you think we should try to get into? I don't know if we can get on the agenda for the upcoming Tuesday meeting, but we can try if you think that's a good plan.
let's just besides this, I mean, you've made a suggestion for updating that. So, and I think we need the map and stuff. Why don't we, Tuesday might be too soon. Let's go for the next one if we can.
Okay.
But
And
so I think we should, any other comments or feedback on the proposal? And then we should vote on that, I think.
Okay, any other comments? I'd like to make a motion that the proposal as presented by Howard is what we present to the Board of Selectmen as a recommendation.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or?
Did we have a second?
I seconded it.
Okay.
All right, so that motion passes. So we'll have, Howard, would you be willing to take the lead on presenting that to the Board of Selectmen? And
Sure.
others of us can be there and, you know,
I'm used to getting beat up. I don't. One more whip mark will
You'll do fine. You'll do fine.
not make a difference. Okay.
Okay, great. And we're going to shoot for February 7th. All right, very good. Update on Explore Old Lyme. Sherry, new business guide.
Yes, I met with Courtney Hendrickson and a designer on Monday, or no, Friday. I don't know. I lose track of the days. Recently, in the last few days, I met with them to get an update, and then heard from them yesterday. I had asked for an update for today's meeting, and so what they're doing is putting more content in the guide that they're going to be pulling from the website that you created, Cheryl, because all the content, I mean, not all, but a lot of the content that they could use is on that website. Some great information that they can pull. And they're also incorporating the comments or discussion that we had with Mr. Beret. Dave Beret, is it?
Dan.
Yep.
Dan, thank you. I always get one of the names wrong. So Dan Beret. And, I had suggested that we try to have something for the January 22nd forum, which Courtney did not think would be possible. And since we're changing that date anyways, it doesn't really matter. But I will work very hard to get a draft that I can actually show you and present to you for the February meeting. If I have to call them every day, I will do that so that, we can move this forward. So hoping to have something to show you in February.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
I was going to ask if, I don't know if this fits in here. We talked about at various times of welcoming new businesses to town. And I know you sent out a note, Cheryl. Is that, I forget if that's part of this too, or is that
Yeah.
separate? Yeah.
After the update on the website, we're going to talk about ribbon cutting promotion, and
Okay.
so we can talk about that there.
Okay.
So meet the business owners section of the website. I did send out a week or two ago the updated list and an updated letter that allows the business owner to click on the page on the website. And does it make sense now or offline to go through what people are able to do? John, in his email to me saying that he can't make tonight, said he would cover the new owners of Christensen's hardware
Where's that?
Hardware store
on
next-
Halls Road in 90 Halls Road.
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay.
They're actually having I was thinking they're having some sort of coffee Saturday. It was like
But you're getting
they
a-
read our minds or something. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if maybe somebody wants to try to pop by and introduce ourselves or something.
I can't remember a new business getting as much publicity as this one
Gosh, where was I? I'm
has.
asleep.
Wow.
They're doing great.
Yeah.
How do we want to handle these, going over the list of who's going to do what? Should we do this by email? What do people want to do? Do you want to?
Email.
Yeah, let's do it by email.
Email.
Okay,
Mm.
but make sure you reply with what you're doing. Say
Cheryl,
what you're doing.
is the website, I'm sorry, I should know this, but I don't. As you can see, my computer just does funny things. But is the website up and running somewhere that we could, I think it would help if we show people the website because it sells itself. So if they see that, they're gonna say, I want to join this. Because, I initially made some requests and it looks like people said they were gonna send the material and they didn't. And, so it just would seem to me that if it looks so good and if people see it, they're gonna want to join it.
Right. So when updating the letter, if you were to send the letter by email, there's a click right to the page.
Okay, great.
The website is live, so you can always tell people to check exploreoldline.com. I had said in an email to everyone that I spent an hour on the phone with Wix a week or two ago, trying to figure out why we weren't Google searchable. They got that fixed. It's not coming up in my Google searches, but apparently other people are getting to the website through Google because I got a report from Wix saying we've got people coming through Google. So I need to get back on the phone with them tomorrow or Friday and find out what's going on with that. But the site's now been indexed by Google, so it should be searchable. It's not coming up for me. So
It would be really, when you go through that process, but the end result is you really want to make sure that comes up really early because if it's, and I know there are people you can hire to do that if you have to, but that's really critical to this to me. If people want to come to Lyme, that they be able to go on Google and that's the first thing they see. That's really
well, it's probably going to be, if we're lucky, the second thing they see after
Okay, yeah.
ctvisit.com because that's such a strong site. But I have worked
The Board of Selectmen beating me up is the first one or second.
So Wix that we're doing this through, they have a very good what's called SEO wizard, I think. And so I've worked with them to set up our keywords, our searchable words for every page.
Okay, right.
And it also depends on keeping the material updated. So having these blog posts on the front page is something, if we keep that going, it's going to help us in our searching in the, what is the word I'm looking for? It's that math word, the algorithm.
Oh, algorithm.
That math word.
That pre-calculus word.
I just searched visit Old Lyme and we came up 4th.
Oh, terrific.
It wasn't too bad.
It's better. For a brand new site, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I searched Explore Old Lyme and it doesn't come up at all for the first 4 pages.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back in and see if the word explore is in there in this SEO wizard. I'm happy to hear what visit Old Lyme came up because it didn't come up for me a couple of days ago. So
not
I
coming up for
honestly,
me
I
right now.
don't think, oh, sorry, Dave. I don't think that users are going to use the words explore Old Lyme. I think they're
Yeah.
going to visit Old Lyme.
Maybe.
That's not a normal like search term, even though it's our URL address. I think that they would be more likely to just put in Old Lyme or visit Old Lyme.
I
I
agree.
agree with you.
unless
People,
they know
there's
it's
someone
some-
in my household who, when he needs to find a URL, he Googles the name of the URL and then hits it in the Google search. So
Yeah.
it's helpful to have that as well. But I agree, visit, I know I did for every
I just did
page,
visit
for
Old
things
Lyme,
like
and it's
art
not-
galleries or hiking or, kayaking. There are all kinds of words that have been put in the SEO wizard. So I'll have to go back and double check that. But again, you just got it with Visit Old Lyme. And Dave, you're saying you didn't get it.
I just did visit Old Lyme right now, and I'm not getting it. I'm doing it. But did you put it in quotes or something? I don't know.
Nope. Just visit Old Lyme in, I'm using Google, I think.
That's what I'm using Google. So if maybe you're
Actually,
using-
no, I'm not. I'm using Microsoft Bing. That's
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That is good information. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
About as many people are going to be using Bing as are going to be using the word explore. So yeah,
True.
I don't know, because sometimes on some devices, Bing comes up
yeah, it's automatically.
and you don't even, like Sherry, you don't even know you're using it.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
Side note, Bing is very good for genealogy research. So much better than Google.
Good to know.
Okay. All right. So that's good on Explore Old Lyme. Thank you, Sherry, about the new business guide. Okay. New business promotion, including ribbon cutting. We have a handful of new businesses or under new management businesses, Christensen's. It looks like the farm to table or Long River Farm Table will be opening soon. I need to stop in there. There's the I never know how to say this. Taqueria? Dave, what is that place opening in your building?
it's a taqueria, right?
A taqueria.
Korea, there we go.
What is it?
It's a
We get
Mexican food
tacos.
restaurant
Oh, okay. Where is that?
where La Mia Pizza had been.
Ah,
Ah,
okay.
Is that open yet, Dave?
No, and there was some buzz on Facebook about when's it opening today. So I think yeah, people
Could
are
you
getting
do
anxious.
a restaurant review, please?
Yes, absolutely.
And I know I think we have a list of 6 or so. And it would be nice. And Dave, I also saw the third Saturday of the month or something like that for Christensen's. They're having coffee and talk to a expert type
Anyway,
open
Handyman.
house handyman.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
which is really nice. But it would be really great if we did go and welcome them. I can check in with John tomorrow to see what his plan is for covering them. But I also asked in an email, is there anyone who would be interested in kind of coordinating ribbon cuttings or however we want to proceed with this?
well,
No
if we don't get a volunteer, is it possible to like divide it, just rotate it?
Yeah.
I think, that sounds like a good plan.
I'd be willing to do that, and as long as
So-
Dave gives a good review, I do the Mexican restaurant. Since I'm not a handyman, I don't want to go there.
You might have to arm wrestle Dave for that one.
Okay, maybe we'll go
Play
together.
the long game with the Mexican restaurant. Just lunch.
I can go by Christensen's this weekend and see what's up. I know my husband will
Okay.
be interested in a new hardware store.
Okay, and I know John is also approaching them for Meet the Business Owners, so maybe coordinate with John on that.
Ooh.
Candace. Dave, is the name of the taqueria taqueria,
Po-
Pappy's?
Poppies, yeah, poppies.
Poppies. Okay, so I'm going to say Dave and Howard. I'm happy to check on Long Farm Table. I'm going to check my notes. I know there are a few more.
What are we actually going to do, Sherry, as far, what does the ribbon cutting consist of? Do we figure that out? Or
Are you asking me or Cheryl?
I'm
He calls
asking
me
you.
Jerry half the time.
I'm asking anyone wants to answer.
Cheryl, Sherry, it's the same thing.
The same.
So ribbon cuttings, in my experience, are pretty easy, pretty straightforward. You need a large pair of scissors. I don't know if that's something that we have or not, but hopefully the town might have a large pair of scissors that's really, photogenic. And you need ribbon. It could be as simple as paper ribbon that you string for birthday parties, or it could be, satin ribbon with a color. It could be whatever you want. I always used, not always, but mostly I used in my chamber world, paper, because it actually cuts. When you use when you use satin ribbon, especially if it has wire in it, not so easy to cut at a ribbon cutting, right? You have to think about these things when you go purchase ribbon. So you just invite the dignitaries. You invite Tim and the other select people on the board. Invite your EDC. The business owner invites whoever they want. They're going to bring family. They're going to bring friends. And we could certainly put this out on our website if we wanted to, if we plan it far enough in advance.
Yeah.
And the business owner would also invite or put it out on their social media, maybe. And then hopefully you get a good group and you have somebody who is willing to take a picture. Easy breezy with a cell phone. You don't need a camera. You do it on your cell phone. I've done it where I've actually videotaped the ribbon cutting as well as doing stills, and then you post that out on Facebook. What I had done in the past was the chamber, because I was representing a chamber, I would do some remarks as the chamber, just welcoming the business in town, telling them how happy we are to have them, blah, blah, blah. And then the dignitary, being the first selectman, would also welcome them to town and say how happy he or she is to have them in town. I also would invite, if I remembered, the state representatives. So we could invite Paul Formica, our senator, and I don't remember.
Devin Carney would come.
Devin Carney.
Yeah,
Yep.
Devin. And business owners really, really love to have the politicians there, because it just lends a little bit more grandiose.
Gravitas.
Yeah, gravitas to the event. And they're just pleased as punch to have all of this attention on their opening of a business. So it might sound like a lot, but it's really not. It's easy. And Cheryl, I would volunteer to spearhead this if I spent more time in Old Lyme, but I honestly am in Guilford and Madison every day, all day.
Yeah,
So it would be
yeah.
hard for me to really take this on.
And I think the way it's broken down, it is very doable. If I had, the scissors and the ribbon, and we can just each take a turn.
Yeah.
We can reach out to the politicians and see their availability. I also want to mention two things. I checked my notes. Stumble In was another one I had on the list, because they really do deserve a ribbon cutting, because this is their second business supporting Halls Road and Old Lyme. So I'd like to have them included as well. And I said at the last meeting, I would check with Heather with the Lima Lyme Chamber of Commerce, and I did, and she said they have no plans to do ribbon cuttings anytime soon, so we're not stepping on their feet at all with this.
It might be helpful too if we kind of gave them somewhat of a package of, introduce them to the website, invite them to put their write-up in there. The project that Advanced CT is doing on business regs and all that stuff. It would seem to me there'd be a nice, the package that we can put together for them as a resources that they could refer to. Invite them to EDC meeting, part of that kind of thing.
And I just remembered the other thing that I would do is I would print a certificate and put it in a
Yeah,
frame for
yeah,
them
I think that's a good
that they
idea.
could hang on their wall
Right,
to just
yeah.
say grand opening this date, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
So if we have some funding to be able to buy frames and paper and print a certificate, that would be nice as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so why don't we take our next meeting is in 1, 2, 3 weeks. So why don't we take the next 3 weeks? I can pull some of the information together, things like frames, Sherry, both of any of you that have other ideas that come to mind, email the commission, the other members of the commission, and we'll see how to make this kind of turnkey as best we can. And perhaps we want to approach the Stumble Inn first, since they've been in business,
Mhm.
I think 6 months or so. So it would be nice to
Mhm.
get them done first. And talk to Christians.
I'll
Uh,
just go on a surveillance to Christensen's,
Okay.
but I won't hang it out there because they may not be first in line.
Well, and also you can let them know we want to do a ribbon cutting, but I think to Howard's point, we want to put this together as a package with John talking to them about meet the business owner and meet the new business guy that Sherry is going to get wrapped up for us with Advanced CT. So let's think over the next 3 weeks about what this package looks like. Have a one-page I can do a one-page write-up on what it should look like, so that and some steps.
Yeah,
And
see
then
if the hardware store has a big scissors too.
yes.
Yeah,
So
right.
I think, you know, we have the scissors that you use to cut, insulation. They're really big.
Yeah, okay, good. I'll volunteer to do the places that have served food.
Good night, Howard. Such dedication.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that? Okay, any new or additional business?
Um, I've got an additional business item. A month and a
Okay.
half ago, I sent to Michelle Noren my white paper on modernizing utility infrastructure, which is really targeted at trying to get this into the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act or the American Rescue Plan Act or whatever to get some funding. This is my proposal to try to do a co-op in the Valley Shore towns to convert our electric system to a municipal system. And I haven't heard boo back, so I was thinking of, not that I want to ambush the Board of Selectmen, but I was thinking of going to either the January 18th or the February 7th meeting and ask, well, did anybody look at this? I'd like you to please look at it. It's a 2-page white paper. Shouldn't take too long to read.
Yeah, why don't you give Michelle a call or an email and see first
Okay.
How she processed that, if she put it on Tim's
Okay.
desk or, and then you'll know better for your
Yep. Yeah,
meeting.
good. Thank you. Good
Yeah.
suggestion, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Yeah, because I just would like to not let this die on the vine. I'd like to get it going.
Anybody remember how to spell Michelle's last name? Noehren, I think.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Cheryl, I was going to ask you if there are any candidates we have an open position, right?
Yes, I believe Tim has a candidate that he's seeking an application from. And if anyone, I don't want to put names on our official meeting in case any people are not aware they're being considered by any of us. But if you want to send me any considerations, please do, because we do have an open space, an open position on our commission.
Okay.
I would just, if we get that application, encourage them to come to a meeting first and
Yeah.
see what's going on and
Load them up with work.
yeah, and also, frequently we get people who, aren't willing, I'm not saying our commission, but there are people who come on commissions who just want to speak, and we need to, there's also a commitment to do something that we need, at least they should come to a meeting and understand what's going on and how they want to participate and contribute.
I agree. I agree. The only other thing I'll add is hopefully next month I'll be able to tell you a little bit about what the American Recovery Plan has learned in its survey of residents, property owners, and business leaders in town as it relates to the EDC. It is entirely likely that there'll be some support of small businesses or other businesses in Old Lyme. There'll be an application process. And that's all I know right now. They're being very intentional in how we go about this process and waiting first for the data. And we had a meeting this morning just to speak about what was in the raw data and the initial analysis. And now next week, we're going to be thinking more about different buckets that money will be going into as a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, because it's really the Board of Selectmen that is making that decision on where the money is going. We're making recommendations. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone has a question or public comment, this would be your chance to share it with us.
I don't know how to do that.
Oh, we hear you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed the whole meeting. However,
Can you give us your name?
Yeah, Carolyn Miranda on Biscayne. I've been to a couple of your meetings.
Yes. Hi, Karen.
Hi. So I missed the update about your gateway, but I have a comment. This gateway thing is quite interesting. I don't know if you folks in the zoning board talk at all, or the town, other people, but we just keep getting bamboozled here. There's another storage unit facility. It got passed, and now it's back in. We want to do something different, so we're modifying it. So we just went to a Monday meeting, and if anybody thinks that this nice, it sounds really nice, your vision for a gateway to Sound View. If anybody thinks that when you drive down from I-95 to Sound View, the beach area, that on the right-hand side of the road you have a lot of beautiful vistas and marshlands to look at and beautiful homes, and then you look on the left side and you see storage facility, dead garage, storage facility, all that blight that's still there. I'm not seeing how we're proposing an attractive gateway to the beach area.
Can you just clarify your final question, Carolyn?
Well, I guess I'm just wondering how my thoughts about, a gateway to Sound View would be that you want to have an attractive vistas and sights on your way down to the area. But we're having all blight on the left-hand side of the road, and we're going to add some more potential blight with more storage units that don't get taken care of. And on the right side are nice residences, etc. So I'm saying, if I were an out-of-towner driving down to Sound View, I'd kind of be perplexed and wonder what is going on here. Beautiful on the right, really bad looking for the town on the left. So I guess my question is, as as you work to create this gateway to Sound View, are you going to be trying to take care of all the blight on the left side of the road, on the north side of the road?
I would say that, I'm sorry you missed our first part of the meeting where we discussed the gateway, and we could send you the proposal that we're making by email so you can look at it.
Okay.
But yes, it is designed, the idea is to come up with a vision of what 156 and Sound View should ultimately look like. And
Right.
that should be done on a broad basis and come to conclusions with a consensus of the community. And this commission, this new committee that we're proposing, which would be very broad-based one, including a lot of boards and commissions and businesses and others who are stakeholders. So I think the problem right now is what we're trying to address is everything down there is looked at as standalone issues, and there's no overall vision of what we want that whole area to look like and what kind of mix of
Exactly.
commercial, residential, and if we, and within those, what kind of commercial do we want and what kind of residential do we want? And until you do that, this is what you get. You just keep getting piecemeal that doesn't fit into any overall plan or vision.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Yeah, I would like if you could send me a copy of that. I would like it.
Carolyn, because we're being recorded and this will be televised and all, I don't want to gather your email address over video, but if you
Okay.
email me at edc@oldlyme-ct.gov. So it's basically edc at just like any of the other town web email addresses. Send me your email address and I'll send it back to you.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
And the only reason it's not posted on our webpage is because it's a draft still that will be presented to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? All right. Oh, do we have someone on the line?
That was her.
Okay. If there are no other comments or questions, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
That second was you, Sherry?
Yes.
Or Cheryl, whichever one you want to say.
Please note in the minutes that she's smiling.
Oh, God.
Bye, everybody. See ya.
All right. Have a
All
good
right.
night, everyone.
Have a
Keep
good
well.
night.
All right. Good meeting. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you for conducting, Cheryl. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.